You ever walk by a brand new, super green-looking building and just wonder, how did they actually do that? I mean, how does it go from this cool, sustainable idea to a real place you can walk into? Well, it's definitely not as simple as it looks. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that whole journey.
So, what's the secret? It's this amazing mix of art, some serious science, and a ton of navigating really complex hidden rules. So, let's break it down. Let's look at how architects take that initial spark of a green idea and turn it into something real.
All right, first things first, let's bust a huge myth right out of the gate. Sustainable design is not just about slapping some solar panels on the roof or putting in fancy low-flow toilets. I mean, that stuff can be part of it, but it's like the very last chapter of the story. The real work, the important stuff, happens way, way before any of that.
A better way to think about it is, well, it's a story. A story that gets shaped by some really big goals, a bunch of tough trade-offs between what you want to do and what you can do, and a whole web of rules, some you can see, and some that are basically hidden in plain sight, that control every single decision.
And you know, every good story needs a strong beginning. In architecture, that beginning is always the same simple but powerful question. Why? Why are we doing this? Before anyone even thinks about drawing a single line, you have to know what the whole point of the project is.
In the industry, they actually have a name for this why. They're called design drivers. And these aren't just fuzzy, feel-good ideas. They are super specific, measurable goals that become the anchor for every single choice. So instead of saying, let's be good with water, a design driver would be, we will reduce water consumption by 50%. See the difference? That's how sustainability stops being a buzzword and starts being a real actionable plan.
So this whole first stage is about making choices. It's like a big filter. You got to look at all the possibilities, pick the ones that matter the most for this specific project, put them in order of importance, and then, and this is the absolute key, you have to translate those priorities into real-deal design decisions that actually show up on the blueprints.
Okay, so once your why is locked in, the conversation shifts to the how. This is where architects open up their toolbox and start picking out the specific strategies that are actually going to make those goals happen.
So let's make this real. A super common goal is managing water. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's the thing. Managing water can mean a couple of very, very different things depending on where you are.
You basically have two completely different problems hiding under that one umbrella. On one hand, you might have too much water at once, like huge storms that cause flooding and overwhelm the city's pipes. But on the other hand, you could be in a place with water scarcity, where every drop of clean drinking water is precious, and you're wasting it on stuff like watering the lawn. A good design knows exactly which problem it's trying to solve.
And depending on the problem, you pull out a different tool. If you're fighting floods, you might use things like porous paving that lets rain soak into the ground, or a green roof to act like a sponge. But if you're trying to save water, you look at cisterns to collect rainwater for the gardens, or super efficient drip irrigation. See, you have to match the tool to the job.
And this same kind of thinking goes for energy efficiency. There is a strict order of operations here, and I can't stress this enough. You don't start with a flashy tech. Nope. Step one is always passive strategies, like how is the building facing the sun? Can we use shading? Step two is reducing how much energy the building needs in the first place. Think really, really good insulation. Only after you've done all that do you even start to think about active systems like solar panels.
But, choosing the right strategy isn't just about the science. Every single decision gets looked at through two different lenses. You've got the logical lens, how much does it cost, can we actually build it, and can the owner keep it running? And then you have the aspirational lens. Does this choice tell a powerful story? Does it show what we care about? Can it get the whole community excited about the project?
And here is the perfect example of that push and pull. A green roof, right? If you just crunch the numbers, the return on investment might not look so great. But everyone can see it. It tells a story about sustainability that gets people excited and helps get the project approved. So sometimes the aspirational choice, the story, is actually the most logical one.
So, we have our goals, we have a list of strategies. Now, it is time for a serious reality check. This is the moment where all our big, beautiful ideas run smack into the hard facts of the actual piece of land.
We're talking about the site survey. And trust me, it might look like a boring map, but this document is everything. It's the foundation of truth that answers the biggest, most important question of all. With everything we want to do, can we even do it here?
I mean, a survey tells you it all. It shows you the exact legal property lines you cannot cross. It maps out the topography, the slope of the land, which is huge for everything from drainage to accessibility. It tells you where all the hidden pipes and wires are buried. And after all that, it defines the final true buildable area, the actual patch of ground where you're allowed to build.
But the survey only covers the physical world. Now we have to layer on the invisible rules, all the legal codes and private agreements that shrink that buildable area even more. These are the dotted lines on the plan that can make or break a design.
You're basically dealing with 3 different rule books at the same time. First, you've got zoning. Those are the city's rules, how tall the building can be, what it can be used for. Then you might have private covenants. Think of those as the neighborhood's rules, controlling what the building looks like. And finally, you have easements, which are these specific legal deals that might say give the power company the right to drive across your property.
And the thing is, all these rules stack up. The zoning rules push you back from the street, the covenants might have other restrictions, and an easement might cut right through the middle. Each one carves away another piece of the property, shrinking and shrinking that space until you're left with the final, actual buildable area.
Okay, let's take a breath. We've gone from huge, sky-high ideas down to very specific strategies, and then filtered all of that through the hard reality of a piece of land and all its rules. So let's put it all together.
Honestly, the best way to picture this whole process is like a funnel. You start at the top where it's really wide. That's where you define your big goals. Then the funnel narrows as you select your strategies. It gets even tighter when you check everything against the reality of the survey. And finally, you have to pass through the tiniest part at the bottom, obeying all those rules to get to your final design.
And that's really what any building is when you get right down to it. It's the physical product of all these layers of decisions. It's a beautiful, complicated balancing act between these huge aspirational ideas and the cold, hard realities of the real world.
So here's a little challenge for you. The next time you walk past a building, especially a new one, don't just see glass and steel. Try to see the story. Try to see the hidden decisions. Ask yourself, what trade-offs did they probably have to make here? What values are they trying to show? And what invisible rules shape the way it looks? I promise, you'll start to see your own city in a completely new way.